Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm gonna give you guys some reasons why I personally don't like to buy into the hype. These are just my opinions, obviously, but as you guys know, the current supply and demand of the market is quite shifted towards the demand side. And right now, it's so hard to find the latest products. Everything seems to be scalped. And it's so hard to buy some of the latest sets, including like Surging Sparks, Prismatic Evolutions. And as a result, the secondary market prices are super high right now. And I honestly don't think it's worth buying in at the present moment. So hopefully in this video, I want to share some alternatives on what to collect maybe and other cards that you may not be aware of, or if you're a newer collector, this may be a good way to see what else is out there in the hobby, since you probably are just mainly exposed to the latest sets. But hopefully this video will show you guys what other awesome collectibles there are in this Pokemon card space. And even if you're a bit more seasoned in the hobby, I think this video could be a great way to showcase some of the different cards in my collection and for the reasons why I do love them. So I think one of the biggest criticism in modern Pokemon cards is that it's not that rare. I mean, you can find it on store shelves. It's just at the moment, the supply is so low and the demand for these are so high. So it's so hard to actually obtain these cards, but I don't think these cards will be inherently rare. So I think, if you are looking for rare cards, definitely the older generations specifically are more value, I guess, if that's sort of what you're looking for. And honestly, I do like the rarity aspect and chase for some of these cards. Let's start with some examples of cards that I really like. So if you guys do like the modern day alt arts, I do recommend you guys check out some of these E-series cards. This is Equapolis or Skyridge. I think they have some of the nicest arts in the hobby, even though the price of this probably even cheaper than like an Evolving Skies alt art. I think this is much better value in my personal opinion. Sure, it's not as popular, but I think the artwork looks great. The history is there. By that I mean, so Skyridge and Aquapolis. So a lot of the E series sets were some of the last prints before Nintendo took over. So I think there is a part of Pokemon history there. And since during this era, 2002 onwards to 2004, 5, Pokemon was at an all-time low. So the printing for these cards are naturally a lot less. So there's not that many copies of this out there compared to some of the more modern day cards. Hence why I think, given the current value that this card provides, I think it's a much better buy. Again, this is my personal opinion. So I think I would definitely pick up more of these cards instead of the alt arts. Just because, and honestly, these cards are not hyped at the moment. I feel like not too many people are talking about it, which I think makes it a great buying opportunity. And just to carry on, like again, XY era right now, I feel like not too many people are talking about it. This also looks like an alt art to me, although it's not, but it's a Shining Gyarados. So I think that's pretty cool. This card is also a secret rare from the XY Breakpoint set. So I think cards like this, honestly, I really like the full art design of this of these kind of EX cards. I like it actually better than the modern day EX cards. But again, yeah, this is, I think, another really good value. It's not too expensive at the moment, and I think these cards were definitely printed less than the alt arts that you find today. And Rainbow Rare, so this is, I think, really cheap compared to modern alt arts. This is probably like $100 at most, and this is Rainbow Rare. So in the Sun and Moon era, if you guys don't know, per booster box you get around 1 to 2 Rainbow Rares. So these were kind of like the chases almost. Obviously in Team Up there's other alt arts as well, but I think other than that, there are some really nice cards that have decent sort of rarity to it that not too many people are looking for, or at least it's not popular at the moment. So for me personally, I like to buy cards, especially if they're not sort of heavily talked about or hyped. Again, if you're buying more modern cards, more recent releases, I feel like there's a lot more risk in terms of the value of the card going down. Of course, the counter argument is some of you guys may not care about the value, then all the power to you. But you know, if you're like me, I'm trying to collect on a budget. Um, I definitely love the artworks of the modern cards, but currently I just think it's way overpriced. And I think for the same amount of value, I'm able to buy something more rare, maybe with more history. So yeah, so that's kind of my play. And if you guys aren't aware, these Pokemon Center promos are pretty nice. They're given away whenever there's a new Pokemon Center being opened up. And the release, from my understanding, is somewhat limited. So a lot of these, you know, it's definitely harder to find, and the artworks are super unique. And one thing about the Pokemon Center promos that I really like is that the artwork often reflects the city at which the Pokemon Center is located in. So I think that's a nice touch. And yeah, just to sort of carry on with these cards, you know, I really like some of these full art. So I think this is like $40, $30 at most. So some of these cards are super cheap, like XY Primal Clash. I believe I bought this for like less than $50 or $60. And then again, like I think I got this for $35 from an auction. So very affordable prices, and the rarities there. And honestly, you know, rainbow rares, I like how I personally don't mind the look, but I know a lot of people don't like it. You know, if none of these cards vibe with you, I also really like the EX era cards. So many of you guys may know, I really love my middle era cards. I grew up with these, so you know, do consider some of these cards as well. I love how these have the silver borders and the massive holofoil all over the card. I think it looks great on display, and honestly, for me, like I'm just super biased. Like I'll admit it, it's just a nostalgic factor. And yeah, if you guys are also looking for a higher rarity chase, so I think gold stars, um, well, maybe not specifically this gold star, but gold stars in general have some of the highest chases in the hobby. They're 1 in 72 packs, so that's another collecting opportunity, is just going for these. So there's a full set of gold stars, beautiful art, all shining Pokemon drawn by the same artist. So I highly recommend you guys maybe check out some of these cards if you guys are interested in sort of this rare subset during the EX era from 2000, I believe 3 to 2006-ish. That's the EX era. So you know, this is probably one of the least rare gold stars. You can find many others, all with very popular Pokemon. And I think that's another great alternative right now. I think those cards have a lot of rarity to it. Just, you know, another option instead of buying into the modern hype. And some of these cards, furthermore, are one of my favorites. These are all level X cards. Again, I kind of grew up with this generation, but you know, a lot of these cards are sub 150. So I think this is another good alternative just because of the pull rate. Again, earlier Diamond and Pearl pull rates were around 1 to 2 per booster box. So that's kind of equivalent to an alt art, I guess. But I think, you know, personally, I really like the artwork of these. I think it looks great. You know, again, the silver borders really, you know, keeps me intrigued. I feel these cards look so good. But again, this is just my personal taste. I'm sure, you know, a lot of people might not agree with me. Level X cards, I think, is another alternative. So hopefully you guys are seeing some cards that maybe you guys aren't super aware of. And what I like to really emphasize is a lot of the prices. So I got this for like around $100. So these are really affordable cards. You're buying a card with that's somewhat limited in its release compared to the cards today. So again, that's 1 to 2 per booster box. Being a graded 9 card, I think the quality is pretty good already. So as you guys may know, the difficulty in grading is a lot higher, especially for these cards that have so much holofoil. I think it's much more easily to get scratched. So I think, you know, there's another added layer of difficulty for a pretty decent price tag. Whereas, you know, cards that you pull out of a pack today, it's almost guaranteed that it's going to get at least a 9 or a 10. But you compare it to these older generation cards. I've experienced that myself, actually. I opened some 2010 packs not too long ago, and some of them just grade an 8. So, you know, you're not guaranteed the 9 or a 10, especially for these older cards. You know, I think they're definitely harder to grade. And the printing quality is just not as good as what we have today. So seeing how cheap these cards go, again, I much rather spend my money on these cards than some of the more modern cards, which, again, you guys have to keep in mind. I get it. You guys see the, a lot of streamers, YouTubers, they open the latest stuff. It's hyped. Everybody seems to want to open some. And I feel like a lot of times it's also because I feel like many people may not have access or knowledge to other Pokemon cards, so they kind of buy just what's on store shelves. But oftentimes, I think that's not the best, maybe not the best financial decisions. I personally, since I like to make my dollars stretch and I like to buy cards that are a little bit more rare, I try to go for some of the older stuff. However, when things do get cheaper, when reprints come, which they should be typically for these super modern sets, so like within the last year, there will be reprints. And when there is reprints, usually the prices come down. So in the past, I typically wait a bit, so don't FOMO into buying, whatever the latest set is just because your favorite YouTubers open it or talk about it so much. I mean, I've fallen victim to that myself. I get caught up in the excitement, of these new cards, but I just be patient. And again, I just really want to emphasize that you should really buy what you like. If you truly do like the hype, whatever is being hyped, I feel like go ahead. If that's what you want to do, spend your money however you want to. I'm not here to tell you how you should spend your money, but again, I'm just trying to share sort of my own opinions. And yeah, so one example is, around 2 years ago, I just really liked Prime cards as well. Similar to what I mentioned before of the EXs, I love these silver borders, and I just couldn't get enough of these. So I just kept buying them, and at that time, nobody was interested in these, even the more expensive cards. So I bought these somewhat recently for, I think this was exactly 200 Canadian, and this was around 300. And both of these cards have doubled, if not tripled, in price, just because now people are sort of catching on. They like evolutions, and the prices are being sort of pumped up, I guess, because I feel like people weren't hyping them up. People weren't talking about these cards before, but now I feel like, some of these cards are definitely getting a little bit more higher in price. But I feel like there's a lot of opportunities out there. I feel like if you're always buying whatever is hyped or talked about, then you may not get a super good deal. So for me personally, again, I just like buying stuff when no one's talking about it. I just like to buy stuff that I truly enjoy again. And I knew I really enjoyed these cards, so, chances are if you do enjoy some of these cards, someone else might as well. So, and this was what I was talking about. I opened some packs from 2010 and they ended up just grading 8s. But yeah, some like this, for example, like I think this is also a great value purchase. I still think these are great value purchases. A lot of black and white full arts, I think, are super underpriced, especially these, like, I guess, plasma blast sets or plasma freeze. Um, a lot of these were hard to pull. Even the booster packs right now go for so much compared to, I guess, the modern cards. But a lot of these full arts, even in a 9, they go for like $200 or less. And I think that's a steal, honestly, just because, I think no one really cares about it right now. But I think, one day I feel like people are going to care about it all of a sudden, and then the prices are just going to be elevated. So, really, I would say do your research, look into, look at as many of these genres as possible. I'm barely touching upon Japanese cards, but the card market's huge. There's so many cards you can collect. You don't, personally, you don't really want to be always chasing what's the new set, whatever people are talking about, because chances are there's so many other people that are going for the same exact cards. And at a time right now when the printing is so low compared to the demand, you're gonna pay some highly inflated prices. So again, do what you want, but I think some of these cards, this is not, obviously not a really popular Pokemon nor desired Pokemon, but for the rarity, I bought it, and naturally the prices have also increased just because I think people later on sort of appreciate the rarity aspect of collecting. I think that's really what makes a card collectible is, you know, if it's mass produced, I think it kills the collectability aspect. So to sort of close off this video, I like to kind of emphasize, you know, one of the YouTubers I watch a lot, SM Pratt. He has a slogan called "The older, rarer, minter, the better." So what that kind of means is that older cards are typically more rare, harder to find, harder to actually acquire, and higher barrier to entry. It's not like a modern card where anyone can just buy it off a store shelf. And the rarer part is sort of talking about, you know, how many were released. You know, was this a time in the Pokemon hobby that, you know, a lot of people were buying Pokemon, or was it a low point where they really dialed down the printing and not that many cards were printed? And the last aspect of that slogan is mintier, so that's referring to the condition of the card. So obviously, higher condition card commands a higher premium and definitely makes it more collectible. I generally like to stick with that slogan as well when I'm buying cards. But obviously, you know, I mix that with cards that I really enjoy. So for me, again, Level X, EX, a lot of middle era stuff is definitely where I am at this hobby. Hopefully you guys can find your own niche as well if you guys are still trying to see what you want to collect. It's really easy to get overwhelmed, so definitely recommend you guys pick a lane and just sort of stick with that lane. Those are just my, I guess, unsolicited 2 cents. I've been in this hobby for I think over 4 years now, and yeah, learned some lessons along the way. But one of, again, my major lessons that I learned personally collecting is don't buy into the hype. You know, be patient. You know, if you want to buy cards, I, you know, strongly recommend you guys check out what else is out there. um, Likely, you know, the best kind of purchase that you can make is probably not the most modern sets, at least for longer term sustainability, as well as sort of in terms of an investment. I definitely just recommend you guys do some homework, explore what you like, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think. I'm sure a lot of people won't agree with this, but I mean, you know, we can discuss about it in the comments. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please leave a like if you guys did like it, and yeah, feel free to subscribe if you guys want to. Peace out.